Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, I'm going to be showcasing how I dominated day 1 of the Weather Cup with Quaquaval. Now you might ask, Henry, what is the Weather Cup? Well, let me explain. The Weather Cup is a 1500 combat power Great League format with a pretty simple rule set. Fire, water, ice, and rock-type Pokemon are allowed. I used Quaquaval with a pretty interesting moveset: Wing Attack, Aqua Step, and Close Combat. Aqua Step is a water-type clone of Discharge, but gives a guaranteed attack boost, and with Quaquaval on the save switch, I was able to get it up energy, boosting its attack like crazy, and honestly, it just kept running away with games. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and we pick up a terrible lead in the first match, Sandslash into Araquanid. I throw a couple Shadow Claws, save switch into Quaquaval, and this is one of the matchups where Wing Attack actually allows you to win. With Wing Attack, I can just fire off Aqua Step, boost up my attack, and just ramp up these Wing Attacks to higher and higher amounts of damage. Araquanid fires off the Bug Buzz, I'm able to tank that no problem. In comes Credilli, and I'm not baiting. I'm going straight for the Close Combat here. This is single boosted. Close Combat connects, Credilli gets one shot, and just like that, switch advantage has been won. Back in comes Araquanid, hoping for the farm down, but Quaquaval is not done, making the +1 Aqua Step, nearly picking up the knockout on Araquanid. And now I can just send in Mantine. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. Hopping into game number 2, hoping for a slightly better lead this time, Sandslash into Jellicent. This is a pretty good matchup. Now Sandslash in this meta should all be running the legacy fast move of Shadow Claw. This meta is very water heavy. Almost every Pokemon you're going to encounter is a water type, so Powder Snow actually ends up being a pretty significant disadvantage. I could fire off the back-to-back drill runs, but it looks like they will barely miss the knockout, so instead of going for the back-to-back drill runs, I'm going to go for a Surf Catch onto Quaquaval. Quaquaval able to absorb that damage no problem, and now I can just look to overfarm massively. My opponent stays in, they fire off a Shadow Ball on alignment. I'm going to shield and try and go for the Wing Attack down. I'm going to get very greedy here. This is going to be very close. Can we get the farm down? Yes, we can. I have back-to-back close combats. In comes Credilli, and my opponent's going to have to give me both of their Protect Shields. If they don't, they're just getting one shot. We already saw what happened in last game. Quaquaval just being a wrecking ball on the save switch. Credilli is forced to double shield, and then I can pivot back into the Sandslash and snipe them down with Ice Punch. Ice Punch removes just about half their health bar. They will outpace and make the Rock Tomb, but I decide I'm putting up the shield. Sandslash's coverage is absolutely incredible in this meta. With the exception of the Bug Waters, your energy is almost always going to have value. My opponent tries to go for a cheeky Ice Punch catch onto their own Sandslash, but I'm able to hold the energy and connect with the back-to-back drill runs. This is going to get my opponent very low, and then I should be able to send in Mantine and close out the game in style. Mantine normally has a very poor matchup into the Sandslash, but the Sandslash is in absolutely dire straits. They have basically no HP to speak of, their Ice Punches are really not going to do a lot of damage, and I can get the full farm down here. They do get the 1 HP survive, but it's not going to matter. My opponent should be 1 away from a move on Credilli, so as they bring in the Credilli, I can just fire off the Water Pulse. The Water Pulse should be enough damage to knock out Credilli. Credilli is going to fall. That's actually a very fun Fate animation there from Credilli, and we're able to get the win. Sandslash into Ludicolo in the next match. This is a pretty even matchup across the board. Much like with the Jellicent lead, I am going to try and go for a Water-type Charge Attack catch onto Quaquaval, because I have 2 better answers in the back. So if I can catch the Weather Ball Water, then I should be in a significantly stronger position. I'm able to get the catch and sneak, so I'm up 1 Wing Attack. My opponent's going to stay in the matchup and send in Jellicent. Now you might think Quaquaval has been completely walled off. Well, this is where the Aqua Step boost can get incredibly out of hand. My opponent's going to farm up, I can make it to a second Aqua Step, and I'm just able to boost up the Wing Attack damage more and more and more. The Aqua Step is going to connect. A third Aqua Step would have actually KO'd. They can't get the farm down, they're forced to throw energy, and man, Quaquaval is just putting on such a show in all of these games. If my opponent goes for the Surf here, they should be able to make a second Surf before I get the farm down, but they go for the Shadow Ball. That shows they're going to be pivoting out, and here I just clicked the wrong move. I did not see what switched in. I click Ice Punch, but thankfully my opponent assumed that I had clicked the right charge attack, and my opponent ends up playing to a CMP tie that they do not win. This to me is basically the best case scenario. All Protect Shields are now down for my opponent. I'm just going to let my Sandslash get KO'd and get the 1v3 sweep with Mantine. Not letting my opponent get a catch is going to be very critical in this game. They can fire off an Ice Punch, and I'm more than happy just to let this through. Ice Punch will do some pretty sizable damage. I'm going to farm up, wait the turn, and there's the catch attempt as in comes Jellicent. Had my opponent caught a Water Pulse, that could have been catastrophic. I zero bubble the Twister, but unfortunately Twister will still pick up the KO. If they bring back in the Sand Slash, I'm going to fire off the Water Pulse, but no, it's going to be Ludicolo. Ludicolo was one away from the Weather Ball, but they're not going to get there as Twister takes the knockout. Back in comes the Sand Slash. Sand Slash needs the double up to win, but with perfect energy management, I make the Water Pulse. Water Pulse lands, putting them at 1 HP. They get Wing Attack down, and Mantine pulls off the 1v3 and gets the win. Terrible lead in the next match, Sand Slash into Hisui Samurott. I save switch into Quaquaval, and my opponent's going to respond with a Poison Sting Shadow Tentacruel. Poison Sting means they're going to have very quick energy generation. I fire off the Aqua Step because if I'm in a bad matchup, I may as well look to boost up my damage. Now I'm going to shield as they go for the Scald. Scald does get the 30% chance at a debuff. That's very unlucky. I know that Aqua Step will not KO here, but a close combat absolutely will. So I fire off the close combat, Tentacruel gets KO'd, and switch advantage has been won. Back in comes the Samurott. They've already seen the close combat, so this should be a very safe Aqua Step bait. The bait works. I'm able to get the shield. They're forced to throw energy, and Quaquaval once again is just dominating these mid games. Sacred Sword will take the KO, but I can just bring in the Mantine. In the back is Carbink, and this game is over. Carbink would have been an absolute disaster for Mantine. It is so important that I was able to win switch advantage. Drill Run really doesn't do a lot of damage, but honestly, it doesn't really have to. This is a matchup where neither one of us are hitting each other for a lot of damage, but I just have way better pacing on the Sand Slash. I know that I can no shield and make it to 2 more Drill Runs, and while Drill Run won't knock out, it should put them in a range where I can very easily KO with the Water Pulse. So I fire off the first, they end up no shielding, they're going to be forced to shield the second, and then I can just bring in the Mantine, and Mantine is always going to be able to get the win. Samurott is still decently healthy, but I have a massive energy head start on the Mantine. Rockslide is going to grab my final shield, but realistically, Icy Wind is not going to be doing a lot of damage from Samurott onto the Mantine, so I'm in a very comfortable spot. I fire off Twister, that's going to put them very low. My opponent tries to go for the CMP tie, but I know that I have a pretty safe path to victory by overfarming. Oh, they're actually on Dark Pulse. They're on Dark Pulse Sacred Sword, a very cool moveset. No Icy Wind on the Samurott, but I can farm up, KO with the Twister, and then always outpace the Carbink. Back in comes the Carbink, hoping for the farm down, but it's just simply never going to happen. I debated going for the Twister, but I'm pretty confident it wouldn't KO. We're just going to guarantee the win, no bad matters here. Full set Water Pulse, and take the victory. We move to the next game, Sand Slash into Sand Slash. We're taking a look at the mirror. Now, one of the reasons why I'm running the non-Shadow Sand Slash is because the non-Shadow Sand Slash does have a substantially better mirror match, and you can also win the 2 shield in some very tricky matchups. Like, you're able to win the 2s against Sea King, and you're also able to win the 2s against Empoleon. So I felt that the extra bulk was actually really helpful in this meta. My opponent ended up making a catch onto the Jellicent, which does complicate things just a little bit, but after putting up the shield on the Shadow Ball, I can now double up on Drill Runs and actually just completely knock out the Jellicent. So the Jellicent has been dealt with. I have a ton of energy, but my opponent is not in Drill Run knockout range. So I'm not going to throw. Instead, I'm just going to double shield and then look to overfarm to 100 before I fire off the Drill Run. My opponent did go for the Ice Punch there. I'm just going to keep farming. They try for the catch on Golisopod. I can save the energy, bring in the Mantine, and there's just nothing poor Golisopod can do. Opponent has a 2 shield advantage. It's not going to be enough, and they will concede the match. What do you know? It's another Sand Slash mirror in the next match. Sand Slash was definitely the most common lead that I saw today. Sand Slash winning charge stack priority is quite awkward because if my opponent ends up double shielding, my backline isn't necessarily a massive fan of dealing with the Sand Slash. I fire off the Drill Run, they no shield as well, they save switch into a Shadow Claw Typhlosion, and I am going to lose this game. Oh, that is such a creative pick from my opponent. Fire types are pretty terrible in this meta because almost every Pokemon you're going to encounter are water types. So running a Shadow Claw Typhlosion is actually a really creative way to get some fire damage into the meta while not having a catastrophically terrible matchup into all the waters that have a fire resist. Unfortunately, I am just way too weak to Typhlosion. There's not really a way this game is going to end up in anything other than me losing to a Typhlosion at this point, but out of, let's just say, a morbid curiosity, I'm still going to play it out. Unfortunately, Twister would not take the knockout here, so I'm forced to full set the Water Pulse. That's a ton of energy down the drain, and Typhlosion is going to be able to get brought back in here and just take the knockout with Thunder Punch. Unfortunately, I'm nowhere close to a move on Mantine. Yeah, they're just going to throw it right away. Mantine is going to get KO'd, and I'm going to bring in Quaquaval. My only hope is that I can go for a catch onto the Sand Slash, and then Quaquaval, up energy, will be able to sweep against whatever's in the back. So I bring in the Quaquaval, I go for the catch onto the Sand Slash, and I have to hope. Quaquaval, can I close combat something? No, I cannot. It's Jellicent in the back. There are so many Pokemon in this meta that Quaquaval up an entire Aqua Step of energy could have beat, but unfortunately, Jellicent is not one of them. I'm going to fire off the +1 close combat that actually did respectable damage for Quaquaval being entirely walled, but unfortunately, it was not to be. Very well played to my opponent. Shadow Claw, Shadow Typhlosion had me in absolute shambles. We move to the next game, Sandslash into Shadow Ninetales. Speak of the devil, and it has arrived. I save switch into Quaquaval. My opponent responds with a Spark Lantern, and we are just getting completely hard countered. This is terrible. Lantern, able to take the close combat, but as they try and farm down, I'm able to make close combat number 2. So Quaquaval will be able to generate a shield advantage out of the mid game. Now, shield advantage should hopefully be very helpful, because this can potentially set up Mantine to try and sweep now that Lantern has been baited out. Kanto Ninetales is the best open Great League Pokemon right now, but I would argue it's actually pretty bad in this meta. Even though Sandslash is running around, there are an insane amount of water types, there's so much Mantine, so much Kingdra, it's really tough sledding if you're trying to run a fire type here. Drill Run will take the knockout, I have to hope Mantine can cook. Wait, it's the bad fish in the back. There might actually be a chance to get a win. I'm able to send in Mantine, get the outpace, and land a Twister before they're able to Icy Wind me. Energy Ball will do more damage to the Mantine than Icy Wind, so I am going to no-shield it first. I can overfarm quite a bit, but unfortunately at -1 attack, Twister will not KO, so there's not really a point in throwing it. Instead, I'm just going to look to put up the shield, and I have a pretty cool idea. I'm going to try and catch the next Icy Wind onto the Sandslash, so I farm up. My opponent pivots out trying to catch the Twister, but I fire off the Water Pulse. This is a double debuffed Water Pulse. They will be able to hang on pretty comfortably, and unfortunately, my opponent does have enough energy for an Energy Ball. I have to put up the shield, but it's going to be the Weather Ball bait. I farm up a ton of energy, and now I'm going to bait back with the Twister. Twister would not take the knockout here, but it would put them pretty low. I'm going to farm up, go for the switch, and we get the game-winning catch onto Sandslash. They're one off a move on Seaking. If they ever switch it in, I have to throw the Twister right away. I farm up, there's the switch into the Seaking, and we fire off the Twister right before they're able to get that move. Twister KOs the Seaking. Back in comes the Ninetales. They do not have a move, and we did it. Mantine with the reverse sweep. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. What do you know? We move to the next match, and we lead into yet another Sandslash. This time, I don't end up going for the CMP tie. I end up just letting it go and looking to overfarm. I'm hoping that because I no-shielded, my opponent is going to be no-shielding as well. Getting damage on Sandslash is very helpful in this meta, but my opponent will put up the shield. I'm worried about the catch, so I overfarm, but they stay in and just fire off energy. I could have gotten the CMP tie there, and if I won it, that would have been a massive, massive swing of momentum. But unfortunately, I was too worried about the catch. I overfarm, I put up the shield, they double shield, and I bring in Quaquaval. My opponent responds with Mantine, and I realize there's a very real chance that I'm playing against a mirror team. I'm going to boost up my attack with Aqua Step. I am completely walled, but a boosted Quaquaval is an incredibly scary Pokemon to deal with. Mantine will be able to land the Twister, but it will not take the knockout, and Quaquaval barely able to hang on as it makes it to the close combat. Close combat is going to do a lot of damage onto the Mantine, putting Mantine critically low, and now I can bring in mine. I'm going to no-shield as they go for the Twister, but my opponent should always be able to pivot back into the Alolan Sandslash. And me never landing a drill run on the Sandslash earlier in the game is going to come back to bite me here, as unfortunately Water Pulse will not be able to secure the knockout. I can overfarm here and fire off the Water Pulse, but because it's the regular Sandslash, this Water Pulse is not going to threaten them whatsoever. Water Pulse lands, I pivot my Sandslash into theirs, they will fire off energy and take me out. But at this point, I think I'm in a tremendous amount of trouble. I bring back in the Mantine, I'm able to get the farm down. My opponent still has their Mantine lurking as well, but it's going to be the Quaquaval in the back, and we're going to be losing to our own team. Quaquaval should be able to make the close combat on the CMP tie, and Mantine is just simply never surviving this. Quaquaval hits way too hard, even without the Aqua Step boost. Close combat will KO the Mantine, and unfortunately, I end up losing to my own team. Hopping to the final match, Sandslash into Carbink, an incredibly good lead. My opponent save switches into Shadow Blaziken, and I have a very strong answer as I send in Mantine. I'm not too familiar with Blaziken counts. I decide I'm going to be shielding no matter what they throw here. It is just going to be the Aura Sphere and I get the full farm down. In the moment, I was a little bit worried that they had potentially made it to a Stone Edge or a Brave Bird, but then I realized they're on counter, and counter's energy generation is pretty rough, so I'm pretty confident they weren't even there. Back in comes the Carbink. I can fire off back-to-back Water Pulses. I don't really want to concede a farm down, so let's get aggressive and send in Quaquaval. My opponent is running double counter. They have Poliwrath in the back. I fire off the Aqua Step right away, as I can look to try and boost up these wing attacks. My opponent will be able to lower my attack right back with the Icy Wind, but I just have a dramatically better pacing advantage. So I can shield up the Icy Wind, fire off another Aqua Step, boost my attack back to +1, and basically just be the most annoying Pokemon you've ever seen. Back in comes the Carbink. Carbing's trying to farm down. They can't get the farm down. Quaquaval making it to another Aqua Step. That's going to force a shield. And then I can just bring back in the Sandslash. Sandslash is never getting knocked out here by a Rock Slide. They would need to, and Carbink just simply does not have the energy generation. So I can farm up to the back-to-back drill runs. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. Day 1 of the Weather Cup honestly was an absolute blast. Taking a look at the meta on PvPoke, if I can be honest, I was having dire thoughts. This looked like an atrocious meta that looked to be insanely RPS. Well, maybe it could have been, until I found Quaquaval. Quaquaval was so incredibly flexible. Even in many matches where I had very bad leads into the Sandslash, Quaquaval just simply did not care. Running Wing Attack on Quaquaval on paper makes absolutely no sense, because it has access to Low Kick, which is the exact same move, but also gets same type attack bonus, so it's just a strict upgrade. But the coverage on Wing Attack, I think, is very important for Quaquaval. Considering that on this team, Quaquaval is paired with Alolan Sandslash, a Pokemon that has a massive problem with fighters, and also is completely walled off by the Bug Waters, being able to hit both those Pokemon for super effective with your fast move ended up being a very significant competitive advantage. Even something like Araquanid, we saw that matchup is very strong for Quaquaval just by virtue of going straight Aqua Step. You can just boost up your wing attacks, really ramp up the damage, and they're completely walled by your water fighting typing. A lot of people, when they see Quaquaval, they kind of assume it's a water flyer, but it's actually a water fighter. And that fighting defensive resistance ended up being very helpful into a lot of the bug bite teams, and as well when trying to deal with opposing Carbinks, because Carbink can't really farm you down either. But that coverage, the boost ability from Aqua Step, the Pokemon kind of came together accidentally, I would say, because initially I was going to try and run Hydro Cannon plus Close Combat, and then I realized that my only Hydro Cannon Quaquaval evolved to like 1464 combat power, so it was atrociously bad for the Great League. So I said, you know what, let's try Aqua Step. I knew Aqua Step was a move in the game. I didn't really know what it did. I thought maybe there was like a % chance boost like Night Slash, but after learning it was Discharge with a guaranteed attack boost, I thought, wait a minute, this actually seems kind of good. So we ended up putting the moveset together. Wing Attack, Aqua Step, and Close Combat. Kind of a tag team moveset creation process between my live stream viewers when I was streaming this and myself. And hey, the team ended up working out amazingly well. I went very positive with it. I'm just shy of 3,100 ELO at the time of recording it, so should be comfortably back on the leaderboards. Unfortunately, this probably means that Weather Cup queues are going to be few and far between, because this season having Competitors Cup always available has been to the massive detriment of any other limited meta or even any of the other open metas. When people have the chance to play Open Great League, they will play Open Great League. And that's made it really difficult for those of us who don't necessarily want to play Open Great League every week. So I am looking forward to next season when hopefully the new system will work even better than it does right now. And we won't have Open Great League every week, because I would love to have more queues in some of these weird limited metas and Ultra League and Master League, for example, because those metas are quite fun as well. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed watching today's video, please do leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and an extra special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide to the channel is so appreciated. Thank you guys so very much, and until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.